Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Through the Curtain. This again is a Talking Talent episode, and tonight I'm your host Tommy T, joined as usual by Double K with Smokey Z behind the scenes, and we're going to be reviewing Fusion's On Fire 2019 that was hosted from Rappahannock High School in Warsaw, Virginia. This was our first trip as a team out to Warsaw. In fact, I think it was my first time ever going to Warsaw.
Likewise.
And beautiful place. I mean, it's out in the middle of nowhere. They've got a pipe in sunshine on Sundays.
I think it officially is the middle of nowhere.
It might be.
Yeah.
This was a great show. It was the first time that we've actually seen Fusion wrestling. We had been told by several of the performers that we've partnered with before that we were going to get a great show, and that it was going to be an experience for us to enjoy. We knew that the wrestler formerly known as the All-American American, Jack Swagger, we knew he was going to be there. We knew we were going to get to see ECW original, The Enforcer, C.W. Anderson. We were also going to get the chance to see The Pain Train, Preston Quinn, along with Dewan O'Neil, who we've seen before. We've seen him at CPW.
The former CPW champion.
Yeah, former CPW champion. And we got to see some folks that we hadn't seen before. And we're not going to do these matches in any particular order, but we are going to take a look at them and just talk about what we saw and the product that we got to witness that night. So if we start with the actual first match of the night, which was Dewan O'Neil versus Travis Jacobs. Again, we've seen Dewan perform before. This is another one of those guys that the physique is there. He's another one of those guys that, again, looks like a professional wrestler.
He looks like a wrecking ball.
Well, that's true. He's about the height of KR Superstar, but probably weighs 3 times what KR weighs.
Well, he probably eats KR Superstar's weight for breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yeah. And a dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a solid
would be the
guy.
cherry on top, I guess.
Yeah, just... with Dewan O'Neil, he's one of those guys that he delivers on what you expect him to deliver on, though. He can perform well. He moves around well for a big guy, and he's agile. He's quick, but he's got that. To use your word, he's a smash mouth guy.
That's 2. You owe me 2 now.
I do owe you 2. But it's always fun to watch him perform. I wish we could see him more at other venues. It's been a while since we've had the chance to see him actually.
It has been. He hasn't been a CPW maybe since he dropped the title.
Yeah. So CPW, get Dewan O'Neil back in your ring because he's a talented guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he brings everything that you want to see to a match.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, I'm not going to rename everything you did, but there's also this energy that comes with him that makes you feel like he's about ready to get in that ring, and whoever he's getting in there with is getting ready to take a beating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're going to like it because he said so.
Yeah, you don't really have the ability to tell him no. And even if you did, I don't think he cares.
No, it's not optional. It's not optional.
So we did get the chance to talk to him. He's going to come on and do an episode with us so we can learn more about him as a performer. In fact, he said that what time works for you guys. That was what he said.
Well, and I asked him what day worked for him, and he thought about it for a second. He said any day that ends in Y.
Yeah. Yeah, so
here we go.
We're going to get Dewan on the show, so listen to what he has to say. But the match itself, great match, great way to start the show. It's always nice when you have these high-performing guys that kick off your show because it sets the tone for the rest of your evening. And this being done in a high school gymnasium, we've seen what VCW does in a high school gymnasium. I'm going to say Fusion does it better. And here's what I mean by that. I don't mean that to any disrespect to VCW, but they made use of the floor space around the ring where VCW didn't. So for reasons why, I mean, we saw some of the activities that went on with VCW. That's why they didn't use the floor space for chair seating.
Sure.
But it was nice to see that you could get ringside seats. You couldn't get that if you didn't have the chairs next to the guardrail.
Right.
So, their ring announcer for this group is pretty good too, but Dewan O'Neil's the guy that kind of kickstarts your show and sets the tone for what you're going to expect from the rest of your performers. So it was great to see those two guys, him and Travis Jacobs, go at it. And for me, this was a 3-star match. It was a great match to kick the night off of. It wasn't a super stellar match, but I definitely think that the higher performing of the two in that ring was Dewan O'Neil.
I will second that. If you remember, one of the comments that I made to you during this match was it wasn't as fast-paced fast-paced of a match as we normally see out of Dewan O'Neal.
Sure.
There weren't as many high-impact spots. But what you could tell, and this was what you had kicking off, a great show, was you had a ring vet in there. You had 2 ring vets in there that were wrestling a very technical match. They had slowed the match down to where there were no mistakes in this match.
No, not at all.
There really were no mistakes. Couldn't find a way. There were no holes for me to poke.
Yeah,
so to speak. Now, from a pure entertainment value, yeah. As a fan, you look for that high impact. You look for that fast pace. You want to go. Yeah. So I actually had this match at 3.5.
Okay.
Because, like I said, it was pretty flawless match.
Yeah. There
really were no mistakes. Both Travis Jacobs and Dewan O'Neal put on a great show. They wrestled a great match, and they kicked this night off the way it needed to be kicked off.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to let you go ahead and pick whichever match you want to go for next.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go Hyena Hex versus Lights Camera Jackson Stone with Dr. Carl Martin.
Yeah.
I had not seen either one of these guys perform before.
No. But what a treat it ended up being.
Absolutely. This was 100%. You know what? This is what I really liked about it, was the fact that I knew no matter what was getting ready to happen in the ring, I was going to be surprised.
Yeah.
So I was able to really just sit back and be a fan and really to just sit back and learn what both of these guys have.
Yeah.
Before I get to Hyena Hex, I'm going to stay on Jackson Stone for a minute. He's a performer. And not just as far as wrestling ability. He was working that crowd the way a heel should work a crowd.
Yeah.
Your goal as a heel is to have that crowd hate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The more boos and you suck that you hear, the better job you're doing.
Yeah.
I thought he did that really, really well, and I was impressed. His in-ring ability was great too, but like I said, I really got more of that from him.
Yeah.
Now, Hyena Hex, if I had to sum him up in one word, it would be athlete.
I think that's fair.
I think if I had to sum him up in one word, if you gave me one word, it would have to be athlete. He's a high flyer. He's fast. He's quick. His movements are fluid and controlled. The backflip that he landed, the full extension backflip that he landed from the second turnbuckle, I mean, phenomenal. I really can't poke holes.
No. I was only concerned there because the last time you said full extension on an episode, it was followed by something very different. So
there were no frogs involved in this taping.
No. So when Hyena Hex comes out to the ring, one of the things that I believe is the most crucial aspects of any wrestler's performance is the tone that they set. So we've had conversations about wrestlers on other shows that we've seen that come to the ring, and when they get to the ring and on their way to the ring, the tone's being set for one thing, but what you end up getting is something very different. We've seen that. We've talked about it on this show. And Hyena Hex set that tone when he walked through the curtain. No pun intended. But when he got to the ring, the tone he set, he delivered on. The guy's a ball of energy. He's an athlete.
Absolutely.
He's an impeccable performer. His ability to not only deliver but sell moves, and his energy of the way he feeds off the crowd was another part that just was organic.
No doubt.
It was something that you could tell was passion for him and that he enjoyed what he was doing. So for me, this match for me was a 4-star match because both of the performers that were in that ring were stellar. They put on a great show. They were truly entertaining. They sold their moves well. They performed to the crowd. They didn't just perform for the crowd.
That's right.
They performed to the crowd.
Well, they pulled them in.
Yeah.
They pulled them in. And
yeah.
I had this at 4 stars also. But what I want to say really quick before we move on about Hyena Hex and how you're talking about you felt the passion and all these things from him. When we got there, before the show ever started, they had all their superstars at tables all around the gymnasium.
Yep.
Meeting and greeting fans, signing autographs, taking pictures. He was actually 2 tables down from us.
Yep.
And what I really liked about that, we didn't actually have a chance to speak to him. We never met this guy. We only saw him at his table and in the ring.
Yeah.
If you remember this, he had a smile on his face the entire time he's at that table.
Absolutely. With every fan he interacted with, taking pictures.
Even when the fans weren't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is somebody who you can look at and you know they love what they do. They love what they're about to do. And it truly means something to them. You know, they're not just doing this just to have something to do on a Saturday night.
No.
You know, it truly means something to this guy. And you know, I could say I got that from a lot of the guys that I saw.
Yeah. You could definitely tell that the folks that were on this card were veteran talent and that they pour a lot into what they do. And I don't say that to take away from any of the other shows that we've attended, but it's a different level here.
Absolutely.
The production value was on a different level. Whether it was because they had the total package Lex Luger there or not, who, by the way, gave an emotional speech, very brief in its own, and boy, what a difference from his days in WCW to what we saw last Saturday in Warsaw.
Yeah. I was not ready.
But
I knew, but I wasn't ready.
Yeah, and you know, being a childhood fan of wrestling, it was still good to see him. It does, you know, it hits a tone for you that when you realize that what these guys put their bodies through, and they do it for the fans.
100%. They do it for each and every one of us.
And that's how Luger got to where he is what he put his body through, and that's how he got there, and that's how he ended up in a wheelchair. But to see him stand next to the ring and give that speech and then have which you could tell was a very important moment for him, a moment of prayer before the event began. You could tell that meant something to him. Mm-hmm. And so that was really cool, too. But going back to the match itself, when you're Hyena Hex or Lights, Camera, Jackson Stone, or any of these guys on this card, to have Jack Swagger, Zeb Coulter, and Lex Luger in attendance when you're performing, and to get feedback from those guys, that means a lot. You know, we've got... we know some folks that were going to be in attendance at the Big Time Wrestling Show down in Chester, Virginia today, who got the opportunity to perform in front of some of those big-name stars, some WWE Hall of Famers.
Absolutely.
And so that means something when you get that opportunity to do that. But these guys, Hyena Hex, I would pay to go see him at any match he has.
Well, and I could say the same for Jackson Stone.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I would give that to either one of these guys. I would pay my money to see them perform. And, you know, if anybody listens to this podcast frequently, we can't say that about everybody.
No, that's not something we can say.
So we're not just throwing this out there just to inflate some egos and make it sound good. If you get the chance to see Hyena Hex and Lights, Camera, Jackson Stone in the ring, whether it be together with somebody else, pay your money and go see it.
Yeah. I don't think that there's anything that you're going to miss. You're going to get your money's worth. And I think that comes from really any of the matches that we saw on this card. You're going to get your money's worth. I would tell you, when you know Fusion Wrestling's coming to town, make your plans on your Saturday to go attend their show.
And go.
That's what I would tell you to do. You know, it was just a great performance from those two guys, as well as the production as itself for booking that match.
Sure, absolutely.
So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next match. And I'm going to talk about the Guns for Hire versus Unstable. And, folks, I didn't know what was going on for a moment. There was a guy in a dress wearing what looked to be like female underwear while he was wrestling.
And no shoes.
No
socks.
shoes. White face paint.
No boots.
Like old school Undertaker style face paint, with dark black circles around his eyes. I wasn't sure if we were, taping a small episode of the movie The Ring.
Yeah. There was just no well.
No. It just came from the curtain instead of the well.
Yeah.
And, but It was a tag team match. And as odd as it was, I'm going to tell you the gimmick worked.
It worked.
The unstable group, like whatever it was, the chemistry that team has, they sell it really, really well.
Well, and then you've got Dr. Carl Martin with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure what the little the bust, the head that he was carrying around was. We weren't close enough to really figure that out. But he made that work.
Yeah. And everything that they performed in the ring, there were some chaotic moments, but I thought about this, and you and I kind of ribbed the match a little bit while we were watching it, about some of the things that we weren't real thrilled about with that match. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the chaotic moments where it seemed like we were missing stuff, it wasn't chaotic because we were missing something. It's because of that unstable group.
It's because it was supposed to be.
Right. That's the way they make it. And so, there's always missed opportunities in matches. We've talked about that.
Sure.
We try to stay away from dragging people through the mud.
Well, realistically, if you get down to it, you can go back to any 5-star match in history
and find bits and
you
pieces.
can find something that could have been better or could have been added or could have been taken away. So, I mean, it's there with every single match.
Yeah. So, for me, I'm going to say that match was a 3-star match because I can't say that it was as great as the Hyena Hex and Lights, Camera, Jackson Stone match, regardless of the fact that Dr. Carl Martin was at ringside for both of them.
Yeah.
But
he had a busy night.
He did have a busy night. We're going to talk about seeing him again later on in this night. But it was a 3-star match for me.
Yeah, like I said, I had it in the same spot. There were a couple chaotic moments that were, kind of hard to follow. But overall, the gimmicks worked. The match was nonstop action. Yeah. It was extremely entertaining. But here again, just like you just said, I can't say that match was as good as Hyena Hex and Jackson Stone.
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on. It's just not the same level of performance. So you want to go ahead and move on to the next one?
Yeah. The next match we have was actually for the Fusion Wrestling Heavyweight Championship, held by the Pain Train, Preston Quinn, who defended against Classy Max Sterling.
Yeah.
Let's talk about performance, in the ring and not necessarily focus on the wrestling for just a second.
Okay.
The Pain Train reminded me of a cross between Dusty Rhodes and a Mack truck.
That's accurate.
Because when he wasn't playing to the crowd or getting his high fives to load some extra pop in that big right hand he was throwing, he was leveling Max Sterling like a Mack truck.
Yeah. We're not going to focus on the wrestling part of it too much for a very different reason. But the ability of the Pain Train, Preston Quinn, to set the tone. And this guy, so Preston Quinn's, he's a veteran. He's been doing this a while. And one of the things that I really liked about this match, the more I thought about it, was there's sometimes on a card that you got to have something that's going to take up some time. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of different ways you can do that. And one of the ways that Preston Quinn does that is he involves the fans in his match. So there were some times when they got on the outside of the ring, and I'm pretty sure he slapped that poor kid around from one corner all the way around the ring to the other corner, and almost every fan that was sitting in the front row got a chance to heat up that hand.
Absolutely.
Before he just decked that poor rookie with it.
Yeah. No, he ate so many right hands, it wasn't even funny, man.
Yeah. And so, but I also want to talk about something here, and I want to tell you that we've talked about appearances and what people look like and the ability for people to, the way they dress and their gear that makes them look professional. Mm-hmm. And, we've criticized in the past some folks for looking a little differently. But what I found interesting in this was Classy Max Sterling was wearing a tuxedo spandex wife beater. And,
all right.
If he didn't have the pants, the hairstyle, and the rest of the outfit to go with it, I probably would have ribbed him for it. But he made it work.
He did. Yeah, we talk a lot about owning your character, own your gimmick.
Yeah.
He was owning it. Now, and where I'm going to take it is, as we talked about Hyena Heck sitting 2 tables down from us, smile on his face the entire time, was super engaged with everybody. You had Classy Max Sterling in his tuxedo spandex. Smug would be the way that I would label his gimmick, and he was owning that gimmick.
Yep, even when he was at the table.
Even when he was at the table. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. It worked.
Yeah, it was really nice to see fresh faces. I don't think this was the match we were anticipating. We were anticipating a different opponent for Preston Quinn. But this match took up some time. And, if we think about the environment that it set and the tone and the involvement of the fans, because let's face it, that's really what this is all about.
Absolutely.
This is still a 3-star match for me. And it was slow. It was methodical. We got to see the clapping of the knees from, the legendary Hall of Famer Dusty Rhodes. And you could tell that there was a lot of different Hall of Fame influences on Preston Quinn's performance. So it was really great to have the opportunity to see him perform and for him to retain the Fusion Heavyweight Championship.
Absolutely. I mean, he's very, very deserving of it. All the applause and the adoration he was getting from the fans that night, he deserved every bit of it. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the show that he put on.
Yeah.
I too had the match rated at a 3. But like I said, I would rate his performance at probably a 5.
Yeah, his ability to entertain the fans, I would give him a 5 for. Now, if I were to speak to the actual action that occurred in that match, I'm not going to talk about the star rating I would give it. But the reality for this, though, is that, again, if it's the fans that we're talking about, as a fan, it was still enjoyable. Like, I still thoroughly enjoyed the match.
Yeah.
It was a good performance.
Well, it got what was intended to get out of it.
Yeah.
It was intended to energize the crowd further. It was intended to bring the fans into it.
Yeah.
I mean, and it did just that. It had everybody engaged, involved. Whether the wrestling in the ring was phenomenal 5 stars, whether the performance was 5 stars, nobody was taking their eyes off the ring.
No.
And that's what it was for.
Yeah. And, Fusion, again, uses these shows to benefit different charities. So any opportunity that you can get to go to those shows to support those guys, a lot of these independent groups do the same thing. They offer their proceeds to go to charities that they represent. I believe this one was for a local fire department down there at the Rappahannock area. So that's going to wrap it up for our Fusion Wrestling Heavyweight title match. You want to go ahead and take the lead on the main event of the evening.
Main event of the evening. Again, we talked about this gentleman a little earlier. The artist formerly known as the All-American Jack Swagger with Dutch Mantell versus the ECW original, the Enforcer, C.W. Anderson.
Yep.
Let me go ahead and tell you, it's been a long time since I've seen Jack Swagger. I didn't watch his Bellator fight.
Okay.
Which he was fresh off of a win.
Yeah.
Unlike
CM Punk.
Oh, yeah, the fresh off the win.
Yeah.
We may see him again soon. Anyway, Jack Swagger was in phenomenal shape.
He looked great.
He looked like he was in fighting shape. And so, getting in the ring with C.W. Anderson, who still looked like just a bruiser.
Yeah.
He needed to be in that type of shape. So for me, honestly, I didn't know what Swagger was going to bring to the table now.
Well, we hadn't seen him wrestle in a long time. I mean, even with his last little bit of time with the WWE, we didn't see him in the ring much. He kind of just, slowly faded out of the business. And I had no idea he was even still wrestling. I knew he was going to be at the show, but it wasn't until really the day of that we knew that we were going to get a chance to see him perform in the ring. And, we've even gotten the opportunity to continue to collect our photo ops with these stars. Jeff Jarrett, Gangrel, now Jack Swagger can be added to that group. And, one of the things that was great for me is to see that he didn't miss a step. He could still get in there.
He did not.
He could still get in there and go just as well now as he could have when he was on the main roster for WWE, when he was in the World Heavyweight title picture. Mm-hmm. The guy can still go, and he actually looks a lot better now than he did before.
Yeah.
Dutch Mantel, he's Dutch Mantel.
I mean, the beard's a little out of control now.
Yeah, a little bit.
Either the razor's not existent, the scissors are dull.
Yeah, well, or it's just a comb and some old hair gel.
I mean, it could be used for a comb over on the top of his head now.
I'm not sure that would look great.
Well, does it look great now?
No, it doesn't.
All right.
So, but this match was packed, and it was also good to see that C.W. Anderson can still go.
Yeah, I mean, not to short him. I mean, like I said, he was still a bruiser.
Yeah.
And he gave Swagger every single thing he could handle that night.
That match definitely had some of the best Nature Boy chops of the night. But it was still a great opportunity for us to see both of those guys. Jack Swagger still being able to go. He walked away with the W at the end of that match. There was also an opportunity at the end of that match where there was some folks that came out from behind the curtain, and there was a group of 5 or 6 people that were kind of causing chaos, and then we saw Hyena Hex go up to the top rope and do this incredible acrobatic move that I wasn't even sure anybody ever caught him. We had that conversation that day.
It didn't sound like it. It sounded like a melon cracked on the floor.
Just hit the floor.
Yeah.
And we didn't see anybody move either, so that was concerning too.
No, we saw him go up.
Yeah, but that was it. Once he went down,
and once he went down, we never saw him again.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they just kicked him out of the ring or not because they weren't sure what was wrong with him.
I don't know.
But yet again, just taking your breath away when Hyena Hex goes up to the top rope. It was an outstanding performance from him. And, C.W. Anderson, Jack Swagger, great match to end the evening. And for me, that was our second 4-star match of the night, in my opinion.
I actually had it at 4.5.
Okay.
I did. I actually had it at 4.5. Like I said, for me, I said a minute ago I didn't know what Swagger was going to have. I didn't know what C.W. Anderson was going to have. They delivered on an extremely entertaining match. Didn't really miss much. Little smash mouth action in there. and like I said, at the end, there was, we got to see some guys come out of the back again. Hyena Hex with another great athletic move. I'm not sure how it turned out, but it was
it worked.
The part that I don't know if it worked or not because we never saw the result. It was spectacular for the part that we could see.
That's true.
So yeah, I actually had this match at 4.5.
Okay. So, folks, that's going to wrap up our actual review of the show. Significantly shorter match card than what we're used to in some of the shows compared to what we went through for CPW's show that we just finished reviewing, which was a 9-match card. Tends up to take a lot more airtime to cover 9 matches than it does to cover 5. But this was 5 matches on a card that was a really good card. And it was done well by the folks at Fusion.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
So I do just want to take a moment before we move on to the next segment of the show to name our next level performer and up-and-coming performer. And I want to talk about how great it was for Fusion, who we had not partnered with before, to reach out to us to say, hey, guys, just come on in and do your thing. That was really cool of those guys to do that. I look forward to continue to work with them as we move forward.
Absolutely.
And it was an awesome, nod, tip of the hat to us from them to be able to just immediately go in there and really give us a chance to sit with them and talk about their program and their performers. And I look forward to being able to give many of their performers. Hyena Hex, I would love to get on our show to hear what that kid is all about. I think that would be an outstanding interview. So I'm really excited about the possibility and the potential of us working together in the future. So now, folks, it's come time to, we've got some time at the end of this episode, so we're going to do our next level performer and our up-and-coming performer of the night. And, this is going to be a treat for me. We don't get to do this on every episode, but I'm going to take the lead on this one, and I'm going to talk about my next level performer of the night. And for me, it's Hyena Hex. This guy has talent that I think we are just starting to see the very beginning of what he's capable of. And if what I saw on Saturday night in Warsaw, Virginia from Hyena Hex is just a small snapshot of his portfolio of what he's capable of as an in-ring performer, then I cannot wait to see where his next stop is and what he's going to be able to accomplish within the next 3 to 5 years. So my next level performer of the night is Hyena Hex. Who are you going to go with?
From time to time, I have a hard time pulling one performer out for one or the other of these. So I actually had, for my next level performer, I had Lights, Camera, Jackson, Stone.
Okay.
I went with the heel. I went with the villain on this one.
Okay.
Like I said, it wasn't just his in-ring work. It just wasn't his wrestling ability. It was the way that while he was putting on a display of excellent wrestling ability, he was also acknowledging the crowd. He was pulling everybody in. He was making everybody hate him. I hated him.
Yeah. Well, that's his job as a heel.
Exactly. I hated him, the character, but he came out of that as my next level performer.
Okay. Well, folks, congratulations to those two guys. Through the Curtain's next level performers of the night are Hyena Hex and Lights, Camera, Jackson, Stone. So now that takes us to the next part, which is our up-and-coming performer of the night. So I struggled with this one because there's a lot of talent on this card. A lot of talent. And some of these guys, Jack Swagger, that's not an up-and-coming performer. He's already been to the top.
He's already been on that next level.
Yep. C.W. Anderson, he was on ECW.
Yeah.
So he's been there. He's been on TV.
Sure.
So for me, it was a struggle to figure out who I wanted to go with as my up-and-coming performer. But then I really thought about it, and I want to think about the context of this for a second. So up-and-coming meaning that they could be the next big thing. They could be the next secret, the hidden gem that gets found and then skyrockets. And for me, this is Dewan O'Neil.
Okay.
The guy's got a ton of talent. He's got the ability to move. He's got the look. He's got the physique. He's got the pedigree to be able to advance and go on. And I think that we are just starting to see what Dewan O'Neil is capable of. And I look forward to continuing to be able to see him expand his brand and hopefully see him in other promotions as we expand our brand.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. It's hard to disagree with your choice there. However, I'm going to. My up-and-comer of the night, again, if he gets the right eyes on his product, if he continues to grow as a performer, as a professional wrestler, he's going to go big places. He's going to do big things. My up-and-coming performer of the night was Hyena Hex.
Okay.
I can't sit here and say all these things that you and I have said about him all night long and not put him in one of these two positions.
I can see that. I had him as my next level. You've got him as up and coming.
Yeah.
If there's anything that you can put those two together and say, and that is that there's a ton of potential there.
100%.
There is a ton of opportunity there for that guy to go up and do great things. So, folks, that's going to take it for our up-and-coming performers of the night, Dewan O'Neil, and, once again, Hyena Hex. So, as we wrap this up, and we've talked about their show, and we've talked about the performances that we saw and the abilities of these stars, I also want to talk about the ability for Fusion Wrestling to put on a show. And we've talked about some of the venues that we've seen. We've seen shows in high school gyms. We've seen them in fire departments. You've seen them out in fields. There has been so many different approaches that we've seen to different shows. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I think Fusion does is everything from their promotional artwork that they use to how they set up their stage, how they set up for their special guests, and how they treat that with VIP tickets and early access. They build their show.
Right.
And they do it in a way that, again, sets the expectation pretty high. So my biggest takeaway from our first Fusion Wrestling event is these guys know what they're doing. They're successful at it. Yeah. They've shown that they know what they're doing. And they bring in big names. Not that the other guys don't, but, I mean...
Well, and that part right there says a lot to the names that they bring in. A Lex Luger, a Jack Swagger. We've been able to meet Jeff Jarrett, Gangrel through VCW. But where I'm going with this is big names like that aren't going to put their name on a product that is subpar.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
They're not. They worked many, many, many years to build the name that they have. Yeah, again, look at what Lex Luger put his body through.
Yeah. And
where it is now just to entertain fans and for this business.
Yeah.
So they're not going to come in to a less than desirable promotion who put on mediocre shows, and they're not going to lend their name.
But I think that's fair. I think they've earned that.
Absolutely. 100%. So, yeah, I think if I'm a fan, and if you're a fan listening to this show, if you have the opportunity to go see this show, no matter who's on the card.
Yeah. Fusion's going to put on a good show.
Fusion's going to put on a good show. Go see it. There's absolutely no reason not to. If you are a wrestling fan, then it's a must-see show. It's must-see TV.
Yeah, absolutely. They have their own network available as well, folks. There's a subscription fee. You can go to Fusion Wrestling's website or their Facebook page to gain access to that. And that's pretty much going to wrap up our review of Fusion's On Fire 2019 that took place at Rappahannock High School in Warsaw, Virginia. I look forward to being able to attend other shows that Fusion does. I'm also happy to announce, folks, that our next show that comes to you will be coming to you from the Salvation Army Community Center in Suffolk, Virginia, as Through the Curtain will be live on site for VCW show down there on April 13th. Fresh off our what's going to be, guys, I'm actually super excited to announce that next week we are going to have a show that will be taped, and it's going to be Through the Curtain Goes to WrestleMania. And it will be a road trip episode where myself, Double K, Smokey Z, and we're going to have a special guest with us during that show, and it's going to be none other than CPW's heavyweight champion, Sledge Gibson, as we make our trip up to WrestleMania. And we're going to give our fans, or the fans of our show, an opportunity to get some real-time listenings to the conversations that we have as a group. And, just get some unfiltered responses out of Sledge Gibson. And I'm excited about it, Double K. I think it's going to be a different approach to our show that our fans haven't necessarily seen before.
I'm sitting here thinking about how this is going to go. And this could be the first time that I ever label a road trip as Smash Mouth.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I would definitely tune in for that one.
Yeah. Guys, if we have the ability to do it, my promise to you is that we will bring it to you live so that it is 100% unfiltered. If we don't have the ability to do that, then we will tape it and then we'll air it as soon as we get up to New York before we start partaking in that weekend's activities. It's going to be an early time out. So if we do it live, it'll happen probably mid-morning on Saturday, April the 6th. But, folks, that's going to wrap it up for the team here at Through the Curtain. This has been another Talking Talent episode. We were reviewing Fusion Wrestling's On Fire 2019. It's been a pleasure, as it always is. I'm Tommy T.
Double K.
With Smokey Z behind the scenes, and we will see you the next time the bell tolls.